in this kind of a forum, listing kind of those areas. And then we really got caught in education because it's such an important piece. But there are a couple of things we at least want you to hear that are on people's minds. One is social services in Prince George's County, especially during times like these. One of the challenges that has been shared is that social services in Prince George's County, which is different than, say, in D.C., as a D.C. social services structure is also supported by a very broad nonprofit structure. Right. And it's been shaped because it's a metropolitan area. Prince George's County, our social services structure is still kind of set up like we're still a rural area, even though we're dealing with metropolitan issues. And so we ask that you would be really thoughtful about that as we are dealing with the safety nets that are helping to take care of people and keep people. The second thing is around HIV and AIDS and about how we are looking at the challenge of dealing with HIV and AIDS in Prince George's County, because our numbers, if we're honest about it, are not good numbers. And if we're honest and really parse out those numbers and look at the numbers that are inside the Beltway, that our numbers are very similar to DC's and very similar to Baltimore's. And we need to have some leadership around that. We feel very much like people are, kind of like sticking their head in the sand and acting like what's not happening. And we understand that there are funding issues. We understand that the state funding is not huge, but we need a county exec that can work with our state delegation to get some of that state money back here to be able to help some of our to get the resources that we need. The other piece is substance abuse treatment facilities. In Prince George's County, substance abuse treatment facilities, I mean, where do we send our folks who are struggling with these issues? Especially when we know these issues lead into the other issues. These issues lead into HIV and AIDS. These issues lead into crime. These issues lead into all of these different kinds of pieces. And the other piece is around child welfare. Because one of what we've been hearing and seeing a lot here at Community of Hope and just in this region is that a young person has to catch a charge before we can actually get them into a good program. You have parents who are crying out that their young person is out of control, but unless they are actually in the system, unless they actually catch a charge, then it's hard for them to get the kind of services. We're hearing it from teachers, we're hearing it from educators, that they say that there are young people who we're identifying as having major issues, that if we could just get them some services, we could turn this thing around. But we're not able to help them get services until they've already stepped over a line. And when they step over that line, then it's very hard to come back from that line. And so those are some of the pieces. And then we do have a question from the Go-Go Coalition. I want to thank God for Brother Nico of Go-Go Radio and the Go-Go Coalition, as well as Brother Maurice Shorter of the Go-Go Coalition. And that is also dealing with let me say it as a pastor. I was very concerned, and this is not a beat-up session because I appreciate our current county executive. He has helped us to access many of the resources. We have a community hub here in which people come here for social services, and they're able to come here just like they come to the social services office. He has put us, the partnerships we have with the police department, the work that we're doing at Benjamin Stoddard, the work we're doing in the schools is in partnership with the chief of police, and the county exec put us in those meetings. The work we're doing with Department of Health and Human Services is as a result of the county exec assisting a young church to do the kind of work we do. But one issue that I did come to grips with him on was when he decided to close all of the clubs because there were some murders that happened. And my issue and my concern was not that there are not challenges that we need to deal with around the go-go clubs, but those murders, actually only one of them happened outside of a club when it was about 8 murders. And I realized that there was some scapegoating going on that was for the sake of a press conference and those kinds of pieces. And I think that in order for us to, now, I'm excited by what's been happening with our police department and the lowering of the crime rate. I believe that Chief Hilton has done a wonderful job and has done, and Sheriff Jackson, Sheriff Jackson, like, hey, I'm the police, man, I'm the police. Touche. And we're excited about that. But one of the concerns or one of the questions is that we want you to be thinking about how you interact with the go-go community and the go-go venues to help shape safety, not just in those venues, but also to be able to have some solutions, to have some things to help our young people to refocus their energies so that they don't lead to such destructive behaviors. And so those are just some of the things that we want you to think about. We don't have time enough for you to answer all of those questions, but we do want you to think on those things. Amen. That's biblical. Amen. Think on those things. Amen. And so now, if we could have you give just a 1 minute, I'm so glad we've had this time together. Make sure to say your name a couple of times so that people know who you are, so they can vote for you if they so are led, starting with Councilman Dean.
Okay, thank you, Reverend Lee, and the community of Hope. All the issues that you've raised, we will be dealing with them. We have dealt with those on the county council and will continue to do with it as county executive. I'm Samuel Dean, running for county executive. I bring, one of the things we have to remember is that county executive is not an on-the-job training position. I bring experience. I've been involved in the government operation for the last 8 years. I also will have a transparent government where we would be responsible to you. I would bring character to the county executive officer where we would deal with being honest, being ethical, and have zero tolerance on any mismanagement or corruption in my administration. I am the only one that's qualified to become county executive and begin to operate on day one. So again, I'm Samuel Dean. Go to my website, votedeancountyexecutive.com, and you'll see what I've done as a county council member. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Delegate Levi?
Yeah. Delegate Jerron Levi, and I also have a website, votelevi.com. And I want to say, you know, throughout this campaign, I've talked about these 10 goals for our community. And they really rely on something, and many of the things you mentioned rely on strengthening the partnership, because government is not going to be able to accomplish it all. It is only when we work in effective partnership with parents, with families, with communities, with our small and medium-sized businesses, with our nonprofits. Many of the issues you've raised on substance abuse, on 2 of our epidemics, HIV and also infant mortality, rely on us building a stronger partnership with our nonprofits so we can go after some of this money that's laying on the table. There is money out there that we are not in the pool and competing for. So what I have said on reentry, on juvenile justice, there are many areas. What I have said is I've outlined 10 goals. I need 10,000 plus partners for the work on election day, but it extends well beyond. I hope you will join me. Jerron Levi, votelevi.com.
Mr. Rashern Baker?
Thank you. And thank you for having us here, Pastor Lee. I too have a website, Rashern Baker, rashernbaker.com. I'd like to actually use my few minutes or few seconds to deal with 2 issues that you brought up. I know you're getting frightened there. But one, I think that are important, and that is the overall health care plan for Prince George's County. It is the first bill that I plan to put in, or ask put in Annapolis, where we not only get a new hospital here, but we look at health care throughout so we can deal with AIDS, drug treatment, obesity, and things of that nature. The last thing, real quickly, that we have to turn into a good word and not a dirty word, and that's affordable housing. I started my career doing affordable housing. I don't know if you realize it, but the development in Bethesda, that's affordable housing. Silver Spring, affordable housing. They use money from the state to develop those areas, and they got the money because they had an affordable housing policy, which we do not. So there's a difference between affordable housing and low-income housing, and we've got to change that, and as county executive, I will. Thank you.
First of all, Dr. Lee, did I give you a promotion?
And I appreciate it.
But that's because you recognized a little early. I appreciate that.
And if you win, I want you to make it official.
When I win. Let me use my closing by saying this. For 8 years, I have served you as an executive for 8 years. And I have not disappointed you to this point. But let me say, I want to address something that Pastor Lee mentioned. You know, social ills kill communities. Social ills. You know, crime doesn't originate. Young babies don't come out with knives and guns. Social ills kill communities. You know, Rome wasn't conquered. You know, empires crumble from within. All those social ills that you talked about, that you named, are the things that plague our community. And so you know that when I win this election, I already have a plan to partner with the Research University of the World, which I'm a faculty member of, Johns Hopkins University, to address those. I'm now a part of a research project studying the affect of social ills on the sustainability of communities. So